Well, Lizardman decided he wants most of your money in the next reality because despite Apple's revenue cut being 30%, and that's terrible and it makes it too hard for businesses and Meta just can't remain profitable enough without tracking all of our data, they've decided 30% is actually not enough for their metaverse. Let's begin. So yeah, formerly Facebook, now rebranded to Meta because they want to get more involved into virtual reality worlds and selling NFTs across blockchains. In a recent statement to the media, Meta has confirmed that they want to take basically a 50% cut of all transactions bought within their virtual environments, and that includes a 30% cut for any app or game just on the MetaQuest store. This is what happened to Oculus, by the way. Remember Oculus headsets when that was a thing and they said you wouldn't have to have a Facebook account to use your hardware? Yeah, they've just gone so completely in the opposite direction of like, yes, everything's gonna be through your Meta account, and now also we're gonna take a 30% fee, which is, by the way, the industry standard. But on top of that, if you're selling non-fungible tokens within that next generation metaverse, then they're gonna take an additional 17.5% on top of that 30%. So the irony levels literally could not be any higher at this point, because several times in Zuckerberg's past, he's complained about the fact that Apple has a 30% revenue cut on their app store, while simultaneously applying this exact same revenue cut to their business model, in fact making it worse for people trying to sell NFTs on their platform. So personally, as hypocritical as I think this is, it kind of speaks volumes to how easy this revenue model is to punch up with, as in, if there's a company with more money than you, or a company that is finding success, like Apple, one of the most successful companies basically in the world, then people are like, hey, you're making too much money, that's 30% cut, that's not gonna work. You know, Apple goes, well, literally, like, everybody else is doing 30%. In fact, some places are even worse. And everyone goes, well, yeah, that's true, but, you know, you should lower it and then everyone else will lower it too. Yeah, wishful thinking, wouldn't that be nice? But at least Apple kind of conceded a little bit and offered, like, the small business program, where if you make under $1 million a year and you're a smaller developer, the revenue cut is actually 15% now, which is honestly incredibly competitive, and you definitely never really see that in other business worlds. Like, if you're trying to sell your own product on Walmart shelves or on Target shelves and you're competing with the in-house name brands, you're usually paying closer to a 45 or 50% cut. Here on YouTube, actually, they take 45% of ad revenue. If they lowered it to 30%, we would all be making more on YouTube, and that would be amazing, but because there's a lot of maintenance cost and there's a lot of upkeep to make this site work and to keep it free, and they handle all of the ads, we tolerate the 45%. We actually see that as a fair deal because we get free hosting and unlimited uploads of any resolution and any frame rate, which is pretty cool. And it's the same kind of story with the iOS App Store. There is a lot of back-end maintenance that Apple puts into this platform to make it simple and easy and comfortable for everyday people to use. And because Apple's built such a successful platform, the iOS App Store, despite not being the most common app store across all smartphones in the planet, it's actually a fairly small percentage of all smartphones in the world, yet it accommodates for a far larger percentage of App Store spending because Apple's built a platform that a lot of people are comfortable spending money on. They're not worried about malware, they're not too worried about scam apps, and they feel comfortable spending money within app purchases to the point where that 30% cut is justified for a lot of businesses because they know if they get their app or their service on the iOS App Store, it's going to be in front of a bunch of people willing to spend a ton of money. A lot of companies like Meta don't understand that, and they're like, Apple should lower that cut because then we could make more. And you know, these businesses and events and organizations that try to do fundraisers on our platforms, we're going to keep that free until 2023, but once 2023 rolls around, we may introduce a cut, but we won't be as bad as Apple, right? We're going to be a lot more competitive with our revenue cut, while simultaneously, this is what their plan is for the metaverse, is to take like 50% of a cut of every single transaction, which honestly, as obnoxious as it sounds, it's pretty relevant to what most brands have to pay to get onto grocery store shelves. And maybe Meta's logic is, hey, well, we're a much smaller platform, we're not a monopoly, we're not, you know, most of the smartphone world, we're just gonna be carving out our own little virtual reality experience. So is this Zuckerberg's way of just kind of admitting not that many people are gonna use this, or there will be other platforms out there and they should all get their fair share as well? I know Epic fought Apple pretty dang hard on this one, but Epic is honestly taking a lot of the same fees on their store, where it's like, hey, if you use our custom build game engine, we'll give you a lower cut, but if you're not, then we're gonna charge, 20-30% anyway. But they're just mad that Apple is having more success with their platform and getting a ton of money out of it with the 30% cut, whereas Epic is, trying to offer the lowest cut they can, and it's not necessarily bringing a bunch of devs and people optimizing games for their launcher. So, yes, I know it's frustrating for you guys when people don't want to spend money on your platform, but don't go crying to Apple for having a 30% cut when you're gonna go behind the scenes and do the exact same thing, particularly if you were in the exact same situation and you had as much internet traffic or as many customers that you had to help support with maintaining servers, customer support, and in-app purchases. If you had to maintain an app store as large as Apple's, then I bet all of you would probably be doing the exact same thing. This is not just corporate greed. This is what it has costed for most app markets. That's why most people applauded back when they announced the iOS App Store and said that Apple would be taking a 30% cut. That was considered low. That was like lower than most people were expecting. Now, of course, the culture's all shifted, and because the App Store has done so well, people are like, well, okay, yeah, anyway, the revenue should just be lower now because that would be nice and I would prefer that. I'm fine with Meta charging whatever they want to charge because I'm in favor of kind of a free market where the businesses can set the rules and set the cuts as they see them fit, and if the market is okay with it, they'll pay for it and put up with it. Or the alternative, which I think is far more likely in Meta's case, is that people will not find it worth it and therefore not buy your product and not use your services, and you'll end up getting far less revenue because people just don't put that much value in your product. The market will vote with their wallet and decide where their money is going to be spent, so we'll see what happens with the next generation of the metaverse. But yeah, I just can't get over the fact that they would complain so much about Apple's fees and then go around their backs and do the exact same thing. It shows how selfish each brand really is towards the revenue cut. It's like, other companies can't do it if it impacts me, but if it doesn't impact me, yeah, I would do the exact same thing. And if 30% is too much and Epic is doing, 15, what is the fair amount exactly? Because if Apple decided that, you know what, we're so profitable from our hardware, we're gonna lower our fee to 0%, then I think everyone else would also complain monopoly, because then developers would all be super incentivized to bring their apps to the iOS App Store, and other app markets out there couldn't compete with the 0% cut because they're not making as much money as Apple is. So even if there was no revenue cut, people would say Apple has an unfair advantage. The truth is they've just built a really solid ecosystem of products that people are comfortable spending money on, and that is resulting in a huge amount of success. And we keep trying to argue about how exactly we should punish Apple for their success. Let me know of the best punishments you can think of down below. This is your Apple Sheep here. I'll see you all in the next one.